Welcome, folks, to the day after launch stream for Necessary Evil Cosmic Crisis. It is the third in the series, and we are already funded. It happened in mere minutes, but we didn't get our launch stream in yesterday because the Visori decided to take down my internet for most of the afternoon and through the evening. So
let's see if they get mine next. Fingers crossed.
And by Visori, I mean Comcast. Thanks, Comcast. It's not like I don't give you like $300 a month for nothing, but apparently I do. So the campaign where it's on GameChanger. So you guys are just joining us. Head on over. I'll shoot the link into the chat here momentarily. But let's just go look. We are fully funded. Goal of 5,000. We're already at 21.4, which is amazing. And we will go through these in a minute. I think we'll talk about more about like what is Necessary Evil. Where are we in the arc? Do we need to have played 1 and 2 to get into 3?
Ask your questions, everyone. We will have answers.
Daryl knows. Right? Yes. Heart goes out to those lovely people at Xfinity, apparently. But change the name, not the service, because that was really what the problem was before, was the name. Anyways, right? Yes, there goes my shillbucks. Thanks. But and Donald too has had some fun with his internet recently, going out all the time. So it goes in circles. But if you guys haven't gotten into the Necessary Evil, it's a great concept. You get to play supervillains taking on the bigger bad. So it's a great excuse to be bad but also be good. And so it's good stuff. So let's start there, man. We'll take on the screen and I'll kind of pull up the pledge levels when we get to there in a moment. But start us out, Daryl. What is Necessary Evil? What has already been released for the line, and there's kind of fun news on that too.
So back when Savage Worlds, instead of Adventure Edition, was Savage Worlds Deluxe, we had a superhero, and I wasn't then. I was just a guy that bought it, right? It came out and it was called Necessary Evil, and the pitch line is so great, right? The idea is aliens have invaded and they've sucker punched every superhero in the world. It's a superhero setting, right? And in the opening days of the conflict, they sucker punch all the heroes and all the heroes are dead and gone. And the only one who's left to fight the aliens are all the supervillains who were in like high security prisons. So they couldn't get bombed out like when all this happens. And the villains come out like, well, I mean, we do live on this planet, we're evil and all, but this is our stuff. I'm not going to let aliens have it. And so they are a necessary evil. Like that's why they're necessary. And what was cool about it is like everyone's thought about running campaigns of bad guys before, and then you actually do it and you're like, oh, the problem is bad guys suck. Right? Like, they don't want to work together. They would rather go on a bank heist than do the mission or whatever. So like you've got all of these problems, and how Necessary Evil solves that is by having this bigger threat, like this invasion. And essentially the world's Dr. Doom, Dr. Destruction is his name, is running this anti-alien program. And he's like, hey, I'm going to give you intel. I'm going to send you on these missions. And as long as you are useful to me, everything's cool. If you let your villainous nature get too far out of check and threaten the mission, you're going down. Like all I have to do is tell them where you live, or I'll take you out myself because I'm Dr. Destruction. And that gives just enough focus to kind of keep the villains together and on path and let you play out that story. And sometimes by the end, the villains have unlocked a more heroic version of themselves. And sometimes they're still just jerks. And it's cool either way.
So Christian, notice for those of you who have been following along on the Necessary Evil journey from prior editions, just up a mere moments ago on DriveThruRPG, there is a free Dr. Destruction preview on how he has been updated to Suede. And so you guys all get a DriveThruRPG email with this, but if you want to go check it out now and get a...
And it gives you a like if you've got the old book, like you can see this exact page in the old book, and how we've upped, here's the new art, and the Suede stats and all that. And Christian notes it's a spoiler. Yeah, it's a spoiler, but it's 20 years old, everyone. Like, I got bad news for you. Darth Vader's Luke's father. I don't know what to tell you.
What?
Right.
Where'd my childhood go?
Now,
You.
if you've never played, this is a taste, because there's the other fun thing is this is only one of many surprises in the campaign, like as you go. And I have got stories like when we did it, because we ended up one of like my ex, her character was related to essentially the Aquaman of the setting. And by the end of the campaign, spoiler alert, Dr. Destruction is not who you think it is. So it had a very personal impact on some of the characters when his true identity is revealed, and he might live, he might die, it's fun.
Yes, those are the best. Those are the best. So like you mentioned that it's like, everyone has the great idea on like, okay, yeah, let's all be villains, right? And it doesn't play out right. But Necessary Evil has become one of the Savage Worlds fan favorite settings. So something was done right the first time around on getting that going. And you've now taken the ball or the gauntlet or the tiara or whatever the superpower item of choice is and run with it. What's it like bringing it to the cosmic level? It's a great question, I think.
Yeah,
from
right.
John Doom. That's like, what's it like? How is it challenging to the players on that level?
It is, and what's super interesting, and this is what I loved about doing it in Savage Worlds, right, is especially on superheroes, where when you're rolling these dice and there's these amazingly huge power levels getting thrown around, and sometimes you roll bad and it's okay, and other times you're like Cyclops and you just got hit by, a nega beam or something, and you're like, well, I don't think this is going to go well for me. Maybe you roll outrageously well on a soak or not, but it all kind of somehow works out. So it's very freeing to just be like, okay, I'm going to tell this big, huge story, and I'm going to throw these huge forces around, and it'll work out. And we played it, and it just works out. It's okay if one character gets knocked into literally next week, in one session, and another one doesn't take a scratch. Like, it all sorts out by like next fight that we have, it's reversed. One character does better and another doesn't. And then in terms of the plot beats, like the hardest thing, since I run the different campaigns, in some cases multiple times, and had stories to tell, and Shane and I are talking about it years ago when this was just like an idea formulating on his head. And he was like, yeah, well, I've got a pitch, and the pitch is Guardians of the Galaxy meets Suicide Squad. And I'm like, I can write that. like this is my bread and butter. This is my jam. Like, I'm all in on this. So, and we gave it a try, and we played it, and it worked very well. And as you were writing it, one of the challenges was connecting it to Necessary Evil, because Necessary Evil, it came out like 20 years ago, essentially, right? Like, we wanted it to be present and thematically follow through on that, but also not be 100% required. So if you're brand new, because when we did this, we didn't think we'd be able to go back and revisit Necessary Evil 1. We've gotten to, which is great. So if you do want to actually do it, you can. But it was built originally so that if you didn't have that option, it would still play out fine. And then the challenge for that power level is like, these are the biggest sharks in the tank, right? One, if you need a figure that can force them all to work together, that figure must therefore be extremely powerful. So then you got to figure out, all right, why is this powerful figure not just doing the mission themselves? Like, what do we need these galactic scumbags to do this for? And that it becomes part of the story, right? And then the other part of the story is what is so challenging that we need villains of this level to go after. And that was my pitch was like, oh, and this is years before Suicide Squad kills the Justice League. This was, hey, Suicide Squad has to kill the outsider, our God, who at the end of Necessary Evil 1 spoiler, like you can't even fight him. Like he just shows up, snaps his fingers, and says, "I am the Deus Ex Machina of this setting. This happens." And it's like, well, all right, in 3, you're gonna go fight that guy. Super interesting. Yeah, that's not a pun. That's just how I talk. Sorry, everybody.
I wish it was a pun. I like the puns. It's all me.
Not on purpose.
So
I just talk and think in superlatives. So
there we go. Yeah, you're the best, Daryl.
Thanks. Right.
So here this question from Vakel, like, do we need the superpowers companion to play like the other setting books, or is it baked in?
Yes,
and,
you absolutely need superpowers companion to play, and that was true in Necessary Evil 2 Breakout. There was a for deluxe. There in the very original, we didn't have superpowers, so the original had to create them and include them in the book. And in this new one, that part of the page difference is, we can pull all that stuff out because it exists in the superpowers companion. It needed a whole book to cover it all, so we got that in the space to do that. But you do need superpowers companion to run it, and we leverage that in multiple ways, right? Because super companion is filled to the brim with villains, and they are the same villains that will populate some of the niches in this campaign. That was one of the other challenges with Cosmic, is like, there are cosmic villains in the sort of shared universe that Doomguard, which you'll hear more and more about, and Necessary Evil take place in. And in the original Superpowers companion, the big villains in that was Asmodeus and the Stygian forces, and they have this underlying thing. And it's like, well, you're going for the outsider, but I've got all these other toys that I want to play with and bring Stygia into play, and also the Visori and Overmind into play. Yeah, right. Evil Harder. Exactly. Right. Damn, too late to change the tagline. But yeah, like to work all that in. And the nice thing is, like, you've already got the foundation for that in science fiction. In Superpowers Companion. And the idea is these campaigns are like, cool, you got Superpowers Companion. Here's some things to do with it. Like, here is an entire campaign. Pull things from either one anywhere you want. This all plays together. It's all pretty seamless, and that's the concept behind it.
So, related questions. You can handle it either way on the same kind of coin. But it's do the same characters, can they go through Necessary Evil 1, 2, and 3? And likewise, do we have to have played or own 1 and 2 to get in on 3?
You do not need to have played the previous ones. Like anything, you get more out of it if you have. But again, it was originally designed to stand completely alone if necessary. And
there you go again, sir. Necessary.
Yeah, this is going to be constant, y'all. Sorry.
But evil.
Yeah, but so what? I know people have kind of hinted that there's time travel in it. Normally, I hate time travel in stories, but the idea that we hit was like, depending if you've played Necessary Evil 1, that campaign can end in very different ways. And by the time we're playing in the modern Doomguard world, it doesn't matter as much. However, it does matter for certain events in the story. And one of the gags is we talk about what happens, and if you've played it before, that might be different from what happened to you. And we say straight up, P.S., this might be different from what you remember. And if so, your characters still remember it the way they experienced it, but everyone else in the world thinks it happened this other way. And that becomes a plot point that we embrace later on. The Visori are not the main villains of this. However, they do fit in, and they are trying to, pull a Terminator with time travel shenanigans to fix what happened to the Overmind. And you've got a vested interest in making sure that doesn't happen. But however that shakes out does shift the timelines a little bit so that we can have a more baseline continuity no matter what happened. Nice. Yeah, if you guys need to drink or scream or whatever every time we say one of these words, it's going to become a game.
I mean, it's 5 o'clock in half the country, so.
But yeah, so at any rate, so you don't have to have played Necessary Evil 1, but if you have played it, it adds that extra dimension to it where you're like, oh man, we actually get to, if you're not playing the same guys, you get to watch your old team fighting, that battle, and they might all get knocked out, and you've got to like pick it up and finish their fight for them. And then the Necessary Evil 2 Breakout, we're trying to like get away from calling them 1, 2, 3 and do Breakout, Invasion, and Cosmic Crisis. And Breakout is very street level, right? So not a lot there is going to impact the major events. However, there is a plot in Breakout where the warlord around New York, she's trying to make these Catharan, super Catharan. And the Catharan are the giant shark dudes. We're a shark company, y'all. Like, if you haven't noticed.
Oh, God. So I'm going to go dig up a piece of art so we can spoil for these folks. There is like, this is what do you call it? Like fan service for Shane? Like,
yeah.
I guess it's not being fan. It's like boss service, creator service. Like,
put a shark on it and he's happy, right? But so the Catharan, the Sharkmen, they're servants of the Visori, and they have been in all of the books. But there is a subplot in Breakout that she's trying to breed Catharan, like a strain of them that's superior and it can't be controlled by the Visori Overmind. She succeeds. And so by the time we get to Cosmic Crisis, they're their own entire, galactic empire fighting the Visori. And one of the things that you got to do is navigate between the Visori and the Catharan, and with their new Tharn pantheon of gods. And you might have to fight these Tharn gods or, work with them or however you choose to. But like that is a direct pointer back to Breakout. You don't need Breakout to get it. It's like, oh yeah, Shark Empire, that's cool. But if you have played Breakout, you were maybe a part of their origin story of these gods that you're fighting now. So it's little fun connections. Like one of the things I have a lot of fun with is retconning, retroactive continuity, and like putting things together and finding like, oh, these are puzzle pieces that fit together. And if when we're moving into the future, like here's a way that we can directly trail back to that, even though that might not have been going then, it feels like where we were going all along.
Well, true, and like in retconning in the good way, like people like often use retconning to only mean when people revise previously established doctrine to fit new agendas or whatever. No. There's also like the weaving in new material to bring out threads that were just started and maybe not even intentional in old material.
Exactly. Answering questions that have been kind of hanging out there for years in some cases. That's fun for me.
Yes. Well, right, and that's the good stuff. I mean, I think we were talking about I had a conversation with people like when authors put stuff in books that like don't even get picked up for like 4 or 5 books later in the series, and just kind of how if you're a fan and you've been there and you've done that and you see what happened in book 7 that they hinted at in book 1, and I think someone was just talking about like a Dresden File one this morning. It was me and JM were talking about it, and how like there was a character who needed they needed a doctor or whatever, and like the person who showed up was not a doctor, but they become one later, and that's kind of the whether it's foreshadowing or whatever, it's just like it's nice little touches to kind of bring you back of like, oh, I'm a fan, I recognize that reference. That is
exactly. You don't need it to enjoy the new stuff, but it is fun. It's fun to see if you have played it, and we wanted to give people the opportunity to play it. Like the whole point to redoing 1 and 2 was like, these are foundational campaigns for some of us. Like this is what got me into using supers in Savage Worlds. Before that, I was champions only, right? Like, and I was pretty reticent. I'm like, I like Savage Worlds, but I don't know if I like it for supers because champions, come on, right? But it won me over. Like it's the game that won me over to do it. And now it's like, I can't go back. It's like, it's just more fun. You can do those wildly disparate fights and it still works.
No, it's true. And I think I didn't grok supers for Savage Worlds until I saw Shane running kind of his Midnight Suns kind of
that's such a fun game. Yeah,
right. And I want to say at the time, power stunts are just a big part of making Savage Worlds sing with supers and capturing simple rules, but like profound effects when you use power stunts. And I'm like, I don't think you highlighted power stunts enough in the book. They're really powerful. They're really cool. They're really kind of where you need to go. And because they're so simple, they don't take up a lot of page space.
And if you guys don't know, like this is one of like the core tenets of the Savage Super setting, which is so cool, right? So the idea is you've got your powers just like you do in every other game. But as we all know, it's like, okay, like I'm building a speedster or whatever. I'm not buying the whirlwind power, even though in the stories I can run really fast and make a tornado because I ran really fast and make the tornado. And then you're playing and you read that one situation in 15 sessions where you're like, damn it, I really wish I had whirlwind right now. Like this is right for this. And that's where power split. You just spend the Benny and just like, okay, for the next 3 turns, you've got whirlwind based on your power set. And you've got to be able to justify it and all that. But it opens the doors to like so many fun and creative things, especially at the cosmic level, where, I mean, you're basically playing. Yeah, I've got the power cosmic. Guess what? Okay, build his base powers. And then for anything else, you're like, well, that sounds like a power stunt. Like, how are you using the power cosmic to do this time? That's how super sorcerers work too.
And it's so in line with how supers gets displayed in comics.
Yes.
I mean, that is the same freedom that the writers wanted in, instead of giving someone an all new power, they use the power in a way to create an effect. And that's what power stunts are. That's how they're very utilitarian, and they bring in those kind of tropes from supers really well. And with the Benny economy and kind of it brings in that flavor of trappings.
And that's just it. And since you got to spend your Benny on it, it's not a free ride. It's not just like, everyone can do everything. Yeah. It's like, well, no, you can push it for this, and it does still the fiction has to make sense, right? It's like, yes, it turns out I can run so fast that I can make a whirlwind. Yeah. Fantastic, right? But how are you making your super speed healing?
Right.
Oh, I guess you're not.
or maybe you can justify like, someone got bit by a venom and you actually get to the clinic that's 300 miles away and back with an anti-venom.
Exactly. And half the fun of it is coming up with that justification, and that's what makes it feel like a comic book story. Yeah.
Right. So 2 rules questions. One from Tim Davis. What new content or rules have been added of books that is not in the companion? Or I see it.
Yeah, right. So in 1 and 2, they are the campaigns, right? Because the Superpowers Companion was literally designed to capture everything from those books anyway. There are a few new hindrances and edges in Cosmic Crisis. And they're for those really big villain motifs, like one of them, my favorite, right, is selfish. And this isn't like you're a little selfish. This is like the major hindrance. This is the I am not a team player supervillain selfish. And with selfish, if you draw the Joker to get because Joker's wild, right? If you draw a Joker, your whole team gets bennies. If you've got the selfish hindrance, if you draw the Joker, only you get the Benny and your other allies don't. And
nice.
You might be wondering, like, well, how's that a hindrance? Like, I'm still okay. I guarantee you are the most hated person at that table. And like we had so many fights play out where it's like, oh, we got a Joker, and it's like, oh no, it's Tracy who got it, and she's selfish. No, we're all doomed, like, because we're now starving. Oh, hilarious.
That's why Jonah is the favorite setting rule we did for mine for Buccaneer, because it screws with other people's bennies. And it's entirely a meta mechanic, but it's like, do you want to be despised in character and out by your players? Yeah, screw with their bennies,
Yeah, so
screw with the Jokers.
Yeah, there's that one. I think we've got like mischievous, because we wanted, like, for someone who's playing a Loki type, where it's like, look, man, you just got to make trouble. You can't help yourself, Like, well, we're in this really important negotiation between the Visori and the Cathar, and it's like, dude just drew up, mustache on the Catharan gods. Like, well, I guess this is turning into a combat. Okay.
This was supposed to be a quick encounter, and now it's a full-on,
Yeah, so Dawn, that's exactly what Tracy did. She had like improved level-headed and all that. So she had massive card draw and would get the Joker. And just everyone would cry. The best. Their pain was delicious. It felt like supervillainy, right?
Well, and that is kind of the fun of playing villains, right? It's like, the game is written in the right way, so it's still fun for everybody, but you get to scratch some of those adversarial itches that just don't make sense or lead to more issues in a game that isn't designed for them. But this game is designed for it, so it's
exactly. It's okay to be a jerk for a while, but it's also okay to outgrow it. And some of the edges are about that, right? Like one of them is if you've got telepathy and command, it extends your command effects to your telepathy range.
That's cool.
Rather than the usual 5 to 10 inches. So a lot of Hisori have that, but once they figure it out, the villains can take that too. Like, wait a minute, I'm a telepath. I've got these edges that apply to my teammates. And by the end of the campaign, maybe they are a team rather than just a bunch of selfish bastards.
And that's very Xavier, right? Like, I'm in your head. I can give you, bonus rolls.
Right. Yeah. They're just fun stuff like that. And they're not, like I say, they're not huge. Like they're just little touches where it's like, oh, let's just expand on these things. Whereas the first two, it's like, oh, we did 1, 2, and then SPC. This is like, all right, here's some stuff that's come up after, or for particularly high level villains in this one. We'll add them, just a little bit of spice there.
The Bankwell is an interesting question. I'm not sure there is an answer, but any rules for random superpowers like the old TSR Marvel?
Yeah, phase rip. Everybody loves that. Like we all had our experience with High Chairman or whoever we rolled up.
High Chairman.
but
it is super bib.
I mean, pretty much, right? Like that's what you could get with random stuff. You're like, well, I don't know why he's got telepathy and is 8 feet tall and no arms, but okay, so that's not built into necessary evil. Yeah, it's a Savage World staple that you go from a concept and you make the hero that you want. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to stop people from making up crazy random rolls because there is something fun about like, all right, well, let's draw some cards or roll some dice and see what bizarre guy comes out of it. But that's not really the necessary evil brand.
Yeah, well, right, it's true. I mean, you almost have to have something that like the Ronnie Civil Savage is going to be running some necessary evil for a group of us, and so I'm thinking about like what supervillain am I going to play, and I think that's kind of the fun of this setting too, is that the playing heroes is very easy in the sense that it's easier to start because you pick a virtue and run with it. But playing a villain, it's like, okay, well, what kind of villain? And there's so many ways of being villainous, right? There's some of the bigger, stupider, broodier villains, but then there's like the mastermind type villains. And it's like, okay, well, how do you play them just on the edge where it's like, Lex Luthor did nothing wrong. How do you find that right character? It has to all be fun and playable and have a growth arc and have.
Well, right. Original Necessary Evil had a sidebar that basically said evil, not psychotic. Right? Like, hey, like you got to be a bad guy. However, you have to be able to function within this framework, or your group's just gonna be you are a liability. You've got right. And then like that was to me the most fun thing. Like every time I ran one of these, different groups, everybody would create their own villain with their own sort of flavor of evil. And they would all look at each other like, I mean, I'm okay, but these guys are awful. And that was actually where some of them turned heroic. Was like, turns out I thought I was a bad guy, but nah. Like, that's a bad guy. Like, that's got to go, right? And that was very fun. Sometimes you learn more about your friends than you ever wanted to know. You're like, oh, you actually think that's okay?
Right? Play necessary evil and or go on a road trip. Either one, you're finding things out about people that you didn't know on the casual level. I think that's kind of the fun of it too, right? Is that there's a really great excuse on why you get to have access to all these kind of fun things. Like to me, it's almost like playing a game of hearts. In Hearts, there's there's two levels. There's the I want to win, but there's also I want to cooperate with 3 or 2 of the other players to prevent the guy who's in the lead from winning or the girl who's in the lead from winning. So there's
oh, you are evil,
right? There's situational cooperation, and so it's like, you know, who's trying to get ahead, and you know, very much you put a bunch of villains, and it's like, well, you know, who's going to rule the world after we vanquish, you know, whatever the next crisis is, you know, posturing. So there's, you know, there's layers there. There's fun there, and right, I'm not as bad as Dr. Puppy Kicker.
Right? Yeah, that's exactly. Like, you always have that one that all the villains are like, ooh, man, Puppy Kicker, yikes, you know.
Who invited this guy to the barbecue? Let's not let him know we're doing it again. Were you really Tracy about the redemption arc, or was it
she
more
was
fun getting all the bennies?
She was, right? I mean, but like I say, that's the fun of the game, because like if you're a douchebag and stay a douchebag, there's less fun to be had. But like finding that thread, you know, and being like, oh no, here is the heroic side of this character. Like, now I can get behind him. Like, I might not even like my villain at first. Oh yeah, whoever just said Confessions of a D-list supervillain. Yes, that's good stuff. Yeah,
nice.
Or for a movie, like Mastermind or something. Will Ferrell played him.
Oh yeah, yes.
Megamind.
Yes.
Yeah, like that's a very similar arc, right? They're like, oh, I thought I was a bad guy, and now this other person is even worse. So okay, we're all right, you know.
Right, Dr. Puppy Kicker, Don't Tip Waiters Man, and Guess Who Pees in Sink. Those are just like the worst. Like, we don't let those people in our house. You know, drawing a line. You cannot play those characters. You need to have something.
But that also leads to like the role playing, right? Like, you know, you've got more to do than just fight aliens and whatever. You've got these people together in a pressure cooker, and see they can get to relate and spark off each other. And, you know, I think that's part of the secret sauce of Necessary Evil as a structure.
Nuking it from the moon is the only way to be sure. But that's true. It's the only way. And sometimes you build a moon with a laser in it, and then we are back to who fathered who, and what. I mean, sci-fi and supers. I mean, they're hand in hand. I promised earlier, guys, that we'd show you the Shane approved extra special shark art. So I have got that ready to show. Check out that thing.
Right.
Oh my God, that is, I love that art.
That's Warlord Starka from Necessary Evil Breakout, for those that know that, with her Tharn minions, although they're not going to stay minions for long, y'all.
I mean, I don't think it's fair the sharks have abs too now. I mean, it's just unrealistic body expectations for us mere humans. We get gills, teeth, and abs. But yes, that's kind of what I really like about this kind of this whole line of Necessary Evil is it's got the supers tropes and the supers. It's a different spin on it, so it is not. It's got a point of view, so it's you know, if you want all things supers and want to, you know, craft your own campaign, definitely Companion's where it's at. It covers so many bases. It's very universal and applicable across the board. But yeah, this definitely has, I think, hooks for those of us who are like, where do you start with supers? Right? I mean, supers is going to be a big and daunting kind of genre because there's so many levels within it, you know, and it's like, you know, it definitely stretches the rules. You know, there are rules. It's kind of like, you know, Pathfinder for Savage, where there's fantasy tropes in Pathfinder that aren't just basic, you know, easy to go fantasy. It's a whole lot of character options and built on extras. And so here, maybe it's a great way to just take it out and like let supers sing.
And that's why Breakout's like a really good place to start if you've got it, right? It's not only the lowest power level, it's chronologically the first one, even though it came out second, right? But they're the more kind of street level guys. So a gang with knives can still be a threat. You know, maybe not a huge threat, but it's like, well, I don't know, that dude with a switchblade rolled pretty good, so now I'm in trouble, right? You know, and that's going to get you stories more like what some of the stuff you were seeing on Netflix with, you know, Punisher and Luke Cage and all that. It's like, yeah, Luke Cage is bulletproof, but there are, there are heavy weapon bullets in the setting and things like that. And it's like, oh, these can be threats. And that puts them in, again, that pressure cooker situation. Put them in New York, cover it by a shield. And that shield also makes an appearance in Necessary Evil 3, by the way, as a character. Because that, like, one of the gags in Necessary Evil is like it's a psycho-reactive, psychic energy shield that's keeping you in, and it's essentially impenetrable for street level. And then at the cosmic level, I can be like, oh, cool, like that psychic energy that makes that shield, you could just play that as a character shaped as a human, like a little plasmoid guy that runs around.
So it's just like Jarvis goes from being a plot device in the early movies to a character to a husband and father and whatever.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Is the idea. And these were like, oh, this was a niche we needed to fill anyway. But then when I realized, like, oh my God, like that's the same exact thing as the shield over New York. We could.
Right. I love that movie. So, I actually like both of them, even the one with like Steve Buscemi and like with that was the LA after New York escape.
Let's just say Breakout very much. It's an open invitation to do that. Yeah. Like it wears on its sleeve exactly what it is inspired by and lets you play that game, right?
Oh, such goodness. Okay. Clint's pig we're giving away spoilers on Doug. Yeah, I mean it's decades old, Clint.
I was at 20 years old. That's why I was technically it's a pretty major spoiler for Necessary Evil 1, but Necessary Evil 1's been out for a long time. We need to talk about it a little bit.
Right. I mean it is not only like it's like the third edition, I guess technically now, because
it is
Necessary 1 predates SWAC. So
I had both. Yeah, exactly. I had both the previous ones. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'll buy this one too, right? Like, yes, I want it. I want the update.
Well, and that's the cool thing too. I mean, we should get to the campaign page because we've got a couple minutes left. And show you guys what you can get for the campaign, because part of the GM screen adventure is Dr. Destruction. We're not just giving you a new Dr. Destruction, like new art for the old dude. There's a whole new return adventure.
Yes, goodness. Which JM wrote. I gave him the pitch. He pitched back and wrote a fantastic 32-page adventure that goes in there, which is, again, set in Star City from Necessary Evil and also visits New York from Necessary Evil Breakout. And it's in the same time zone that Cosmic Crisis happens, and it's all kind of interrelated. And the gag is like, Dr. Destruction's back. And depending on how your Necessary Evil campaign ended, that's a what? He might be died, or maybe he was revealed. Either way, people are surprised that there's a Dr. Destruction tearing stuff up now. And it's like, well, what is that? Is it the same person inside a different suit? Is it the original back somehow? Like, what's going on here? And that could be very fun.
And I think the piece of art that is the cover art for that adventure is my favorite piece of art for the whole campaign. I mean, it's just like, I won't show the full thing. We won't.
Aaron Riley.
It's so good though. It's good. Well, maybe on Friday when we do your office hour stream, we'll show that on Friday. Diablo, we are. This is not. There are no stretch goals. We are all the values baked in from the very beginning. We didn't want to not unlock anything on the campaign. I don't think there was usually any worry of that. But I think because we are giving you 2 previous books all updated, it just made sense to make sure that like this is what we're going to go to print with. We're going to get this out. And
the one thing that you guys can expect is in the next couple of days, once we have some things worked out, is individual items will go up as add-ons. So if you're like, I just want this one book, you'll be able to get just the one book. That's something to come.
Yes. So here's the question. The question was city maps. Yes. Multiple. So there's not only we thrown in a map pack, but there's also Star City.
Yes. So the map pack are cosmic battlegrounds for tactical fights. The box set comes with Star City, which is, I mean, it's the same Star City from any one, updated art. And if you guys like, when you see the book itself, all of the locations are actually labeled on the map now. So we got the big fold out map that doesn't have the locations on it. But if you're a GM, looking at that map, you'll be able to be like, ah, that's the overpass, that's the monorail station, that's which I think is cool. It's something that I always wanted when I ran it back in the day. And then the backside of that map is you've got a spaceship in Cosmic Crisis called the Promise, which is where the intergalactic law force has put you guys on and giving you this ship to run around the galaxy in. And you got to be careful. You might lose that ship. And if you do,
oops, you might be stranded.
Well, that's just it, because a lot of the campaign takes place in entire different galaxies. So you kind of want to keep your ship alive, everyone. Some characters can travel without it, but others might not be able to.
It's your way home.
Yeah.
Let's see. So yeah, let's run through. Let me go back. Yes. So yeah, let's run through. Shane hates when I scroll too fast on these. But look at the top. So the if you got the all-in box set, it covers everything. So let's talk about all the good stuff that you guys can get in the box. I was just yelling out we did a new thing in this campaign. We're showing you the minimum retail of what's going to be after the campaign and like what you guys are getting it for now. So it will be at least that expensive when it goes to retail, and it's hard to depict the final retail price. 8
just to
months
get
from now,
an indication of what we're trying to do on our side when we put these together, because we always try to cut people a break, for ordering direct, but it's not always clear what's happening. So it's just an attempt to make it clearer.
Great. Let's get in and show the a little too.
So the beefiest part of it is 3 campaign books, right? Necessary Evil Invasion, Necessary Evil Breakout, Necessary Evil Cosmic Crisis. That's beefy, right? My second favorite thing in the box is the pawn sheet. So when we redid these books, one of the questions we had early on is we knew we were going to update for Suede, so people didn't have to do it. And if you remember Necessary Evil 1, that's not as easy as it sounds, because the original one was built under the old model where you would gain power points and essentially go up in power level as the campaign went on. And that is not how Supers works anymore. So we've had to adjust some of those fights. We considered making it a Rising Stars style campaign and decided, no, let's lock it in. It's power level 3. And that's just how it's going to be. But we're like, the big question was, do we do new art? And the answer was, you know what? Yeah, we love the setting. We're behind this. Let's do new art. And so there are a lot of cool, it's not just the covers that are new, y'all. And we got to do very specific character cutouts, and those all made it to the pawns. So we've got these pawns that will be the characters from Necessary Evil 1, 2, and 3 that will supplement your pawns from Superpowers Companion. And, if you've got both, man, you got a lot of super stuff to throw around.
Yeah, right. And so folks, some eagle-eyed person recognized that we had a pretty big, far-reaching stretch goal for Legend of Ghost Mountain on doing some conviction coins for that campaign. And so you might recognize the conviction coins that we're definitely doing in this campaign, because since that campaign, we've had a little bit of time to get Simon to negotiate those and figure those out. So we're actually looking to have these conviction coins like a punch all the way through with a little pinnacle star. So they're not even just recessed, but like all the way through the coin, which would be pretty cool. So those are super exciting. I know people asked us before, like, can we get extras of those if we want to use them as bennies instead of conviction coins for other campaigns? And so the answer is yes, right. And like the collar coins, which I've got a little back of the holler coins. I think I have it here somewhere.
I've been using my holler coins for our supers that our friend Mac is running, and man, every time people get those, they're like, "Oh my god!" Like they feel that weight, and they're so cool. So
they're no joke. They're legit. They're clinky and they're heavy and they're fun. Where did I put mine? I don't know. I need a cleaner desk to find where I had mine. I had mine like right here. But yeah, so seeing how well those were received with the holler set, and Where'd it go? Well, I gotta dig for these while you keep talking.
And when we do get the individual add-ons on, those will be there. And I was excited that some of the backers were like, "Ooh, I might want more than one set." And we're like, "Thank you. Like, you're exactly who we made these for as an add-on," because I'm thinking the same. Like, I kind of want to have some extras because you can have more than one, conviction, and use them in other settings that don't have their coins.
Well, right, and the and conviction. I mean, like hopefully your characters only have like 1 point of conviction. Your players at any one time.
I've topped around 2 on multiple campaigns, and people still died.
I know it's only an extra D6. I mean, they're. Let me see if I get the. I mean, that's a satisfying sound, and these ones are nice and super thick and chunky.
Yeah.
And so the ones we're looking in for here are going to be hopefully we get that punch through, because I think that'll be a cool, unique feature, and and then usable in any kind of campaign, whether it's supers, necessary evil, or whether you all your rest of your pinnacle products, because we're getting double duty out of that star. That's the star from the Pinnacle logo. So right. You'll see it kind of shows up in the art too if you're evil.
And in the setting, right? Like Star City is a thing, and Star City's based on the outsider, who uses that as his symbol. And since you're trying to kill the outsider in Necessary Evil 3, like it all thematically ties together.
Right. Oh wow. Good job, Brad. Running 6. That's
right.
That's tough. It's tough when you start getting above like 4. I think 4 is like my sweet spot. Like, I can wrinkle 4, but
4 is my favorite. But when we were doing our Lost Colony game, we had 6 for that. Just fine.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff.
Actually, we had 6 in Necessary Evil Cosmic Crisis. Now that you think about it, you want hard to handle 6 freaking cosmic level supers. Oh man.
Yeah, right. So talk a little bit about that, because I mean I'm a fan of the street level, and then cosmic is just like it's. I think it was kind of an earlier question, but like right when you've got Shane at the table, and Shane loves characters that are just the let's derail everybody's plan character.
Well, it is, but part of the solution is like you have to go big. Right? Like you can't do a street level mystery or whatever. It's like, oh, I've got a mystery, but I'm just assuming someone's going to be able to use telepathy and solve this in 5 seconds flat. So really the adventure is around, well, now what do you do about it? And when you, and also like embracing that, it's like, yeah, these guys could probably just destroy this planet. What happens if they do? Like, all right, like building out those consequences. And it's like, it's all fun and games until you hit one of the characters that is strong enough to actually be a challenge, right? Like, the galactic bounty hunter archetype, who will get dispatched if you start messing with the wrong people, or, or you might be playing him and then you get hired to take out your teammates. And it's like, how does this work? What's going to happen here? But yeah, it's just go big. Like, oh, you're going to have to fight Stygia. All of it. I'll dump you in hell, and here's the stats for hell. Go fight. Right?
That's coming in Necessary Evil 6.
No, that's in Cosmic Crisis. That's my background here. That's literally like, yep, one of the chapters.
Oh, spoilers!
Right?
Spoilers. Good stuff.
I do. Look, you guys came and showed up. I'll give you spoilers, right? Yes, you're absolutely going to go to hell, and you're going to fight it. Fists up. Like, that's cool. Like, you're cosmic level powered. It has to be big. It has to be threats to an entire world or multiple worlds, entire dimensions. When you fight the outsider, it's like he built on 75 points, right? Like he can do things no one else can do. It's going to take everything you've got to take him down. Like when the playtest, I thought he was going to punk them all. Like 6 cosmic level supers, and I was worried. I was like, "Oh man, like this is a nail biter." I think you can, you can lose, right?
So we've got a retailer in the comments that I want to get to before we go back to that awesome image, just because this is a cool thing. A little FYI. So if you are a retailer and you are seeing $550 as the price on here and not $275, because the price is $275, although it is $630 worth of product. You need to join our retailer program. So if you are a retailer, you basically just need to sign up we got a form for you, and you give us a copy of your resale certificate. And there's a link on that product itself. So you click on the product, and then right here in the description, nice link that says sign up here. That will take you to the page that you can sign up to be a retailer with us, and we will designate your account as a retail account, and you will correctly see $275 instead of $550 when that's the case. So that is how to solve that little conundrum if you are interested in the retail level. The retail level's got the full box set, the map pack 1, which is awesome, and then the conviction coins, and you'll get 3 each of all of those for one version of the retailer pledge level.
Right.
And so that's how you do it. So you basically, you click here to sign up, and you go through the process to give us your certificate. And then all the things on our website will also reflect your retailer discount, which is 50% off MSRP, and you'll have a free shipping option when you check out. So super retailer friendly on peginc.com now. And any problems with that, just reach out to me. You can info@peginc.com, and they'll forward your email to me, and we'll get you taken care of. So that's the retail thing on the price and why you might see difference.
And why we're a little excited when retailers are like, "Hey, I've got the wrong price." It's like, "Oh, we need to fix that because that affects all of your orders." So.
Right? Yes, all of the stuff will be good.
Let's get you right. Yeah.
The right when that Tracy's like, talking about like, riding the right edge on a high level campaign is like, you're almost killing your superpower characters. It's good. That's the good place to be. That's where you want to be, where people are, it's not all or nothing. You're not mowing over the bad guys, and you're not getting mowed over, but you're spending those bennies. And
sometimes you're mowing them over, right? Like, and that's the joy of Savage Supers is there's no expectation that every fight is going to be balanced, right? There are no challenge levels in Savage Worlds. It's like you do it, and a fight that maybe shouldn't have been that tough because of the way the dice crumble suddenly becomes like super deadly. That's cool. Like the next one that should have been harder, everything comes together. They've got a good plan. They just knock that out, and it's super easy. That's great. I think the secret to plot points is it's because there are so many of those encounters that it's okay if one doesn't go the way it's planned, good or bad. Like the next one averages it back out again. And
I think that's part of the fun for a game master too, is figuring out how to, not even just re-rail a derail, as like when players do something unexpected or an encounter goes sideways. The next session I think is much more fun because you're on your toes, improvising and figuring out and backfilling and all that kind of stuff too. So,
and like I said, and that's one of the great things about the entire Necessary Evil format is because you've got the freedom to do it however you want to do it, but there is that force nudging you along. Like, okay, there is a next step here. We don't really care how you get to it, but it exists and you need to get to it. Yeah. And if you don't, there are pretty dire consequences. Like, you don't have to, but okay.
You can ignore the threat, but it's not ignoring you. It's continuing on.
Exactly. Like now there's hyper. Do you want hyper drones? This is how you get hyper drones.
One thing I want to mention is like we've got gorgeous new covers and all these things, but the covers aren't the only new art. So how much new art is in the redos, the upgrade, the revised editions for 1 and 2?
Nearly 100%. I say nearly because there were a couple pieces from the originals that are just classic and we liked, and so we kept them. But like almost everything else is brand new, And there are some characters from the Superpowers Companion that you'll see. It's like, hey, we've already got art for them from Superpowers Companion. Like, we don't need to reinvent this wheel, but like the ratio is, I say, nearly 100% when you look at these books, and graphically they're all updated and unified. So they'll all be, if you're OCD like me and like them will line up and look the same, it's like, oh, that's really cool.
Right. And we'll make sure Simon keeps them that way. So no binding issues, no moving the logo. And I think someone on Facebook had like the they posted like 3 images on like the SPC and some of the other product covers. So here's just a thing on that. It's consistent in the actual product you get. Sometimes we have temp images that we make before final art, and so yes, we will. If we haven't already, we will assuage your OCD-ness and make sure that there's some consistency in there. But I love. I think that the logo is fantastic. I really like you can actually go through and read the news articles, little bits you can see behind, the necessary part. It's got like alien invasion. There's a New York Times clip and stuff like that. Like,
I think that one was introduced for Breakout, but it might have been in the second edition of Original. I'm not sure. I know for sure it was in Breakout. Like, it hasn't changed since then.
It's good though. I love it.
Yep, that's Aaron. Yeah.
Right. It's good stuff. And let me see. Anything else? I want to go back and actually, we'll finish off some of the other cool stuff in this one. Let me just go in here and just make sure we cover everything, because there's a whole lot in the box for the 175. So like, you get
So we got the archetypes. Let's talk about the archetypes. You get the archetypes, which are going to be villains that you can play. We expect you're going to make your own, but we like to have archetypes, and also then you can reuse. Because when you need them, like we talk about getting off the rails. And then there's the special box that we're doing for this. That if anyone got it fits the oversized action deck and the archetypes. Deadlands, we did one. It's got a magnetic clasp, and we just really liked it. It's just a damn cool box, and we're like, let's do one, because we've got so that you can put your archetypes from this, your archetypes from SPC, maybe your action deck. Like you've got a place for them all. Like, you don't even have to necessarily put cards in it, but it's just a cool box, and that's an extra that we're not doing for the retail version. But it would have been a stretch goal, but we're like, nah, no stretch goals. We'll just throw it in.
Right, that's kind of one of the earlier questions. Like, oh, we're doing stretch goals. Well, no, we're going to do the coins, so we're not going to make it the stretch goals. We're giving you the map pack. There's already other maps, like there's the Star City and the ship map, but we're actually giving you map pack 1, which is even different locations.
And that was the other things. We didn't want anyone to get the box set and be like, oh, but I didn't get this other thing. It's like, no, box set has got it all.
Right. Well, that's another cool thing too. Is like, boxes and boxes with topses and topses is the archetype cards themselves come in an archetype box. So you get like the actual bonus box, like all different art and very cool. It's a total bonus box that's got like a locking, the magnetic clasp. And I think we've got a video of Simon showing that off. I think from one of the last campaigns. But that's once we got the actual production version of that we did for Hell on the High Plains. We're just like, oh, we need more of these, like for all the things. So I'm pretty sure like 2 regular size card decks can fit in there, like side by side, and then in addition to like the larger cards we use for archetypes and like scene setters and such. So
and then the action deck dice and Benny was like, these were items that we didn't necessarily do for Superpowers Companion. And we're like, oh, let's get them now. like we didn't do an action deck for SPC. Let's get one. Well, let's get that covered, right? And then the GM screen, which we also didn't do a GM screen for Superpowers Companion. So we'll get that info on as much as we can cram on this one, and the inserts and that really cool adventure.
Yes, and so so it's not full screen. I'm not going to zoom in, but that is the art right there on the Dr. Destruction adventure. I just think it's a great piece. So you guys will know it when you see it when we show it off, larger later. But and
the best part, I'm not worried about spoilers, right? Because there's like a dozen things that escalate so hugely that's like, oh yeah, you learned this one thing about this. Cool. There's a lot more. Oh, there's a lot more.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff. And so we're super excited about this campaign. We've taken up your hour, and so we got plenty more to talk about. So let's see. The campaign is on now, and let me just see where we're at. I think we had several $100s in backing while we've just been on screen. Oh, nice. Let me go back and let's see. Let's go back. Yes. So I think let's do a little refresh and see where we're at on the campaign.
And you guys ask those questions, right? There's certain things that like I take for granted and don't think to talk about. People are like, oh, can you play, like the very first question, and I never answered it in this, was, can you play the same villain campaign to campaign to campaign? Well, in Savage Supers, usually build a character at one power level and stick with it. And these are all 3 at different power levels. So the default would be these are 3 different groups of villains across time and space. However, that doesn't mean it can't be done, right? Like we do talk in SPC about rising stars. We do talk about switching out, like you can just hand wave it and be like, because of this factor, the group's power level goes up. And if you wanted to do that, you absolutely could. And you start at the street with Breakout, which happens a year before Invasion, 2 years technically, right? In that 2 years, they could be power level 3, go through Invasion, and in the 20 years between, they're ready for Cosmic.
Ooh, I like the actual cover art with that. That's good.
Yes,
nice. I need to get a hold of that font. Yeah, I love this cover art though. It's super nice. You can kind of see if you look carefully, you can kind of see other characters in the background. And there's a piece of art. There's like a supers fighting boxing kind of piece of art that's on the campaign page. And if you look in the background, you can recognize like other archetypes from the Superpowers Companion and the so if you guys, the easiest way to get in is just $15 for the digital, and that gets you Necessary Evil, Cosmic Crisis, which is the 3rd in the series. You don't need to get the first 2. Just $15 for the PDF, and that includes a whole campaign. It is complete in and of itself. So that's the easiest way to get in. And if you want to get the book, it's $30 during the campaign. Great book. It's 100 and do we say what 192?
It's 144.
144. Okay.
Which, by comparison, Breakout was originally 96, is up to 104 now because of some extra stuff that we put in, and Necessary Evil Invasion is 128.
Oh, good deal. So yes, jam-packed, lots of pages, $30 for the hardcover book. And then when you want to start actually getting all those extra awesome extras, which they're pretty cool, the Cosmic Bundle digital is $45. And we didn't talk about the GM screen. The GM screen art is really cool too. It is a long, wide. We kind of have it covered up as there's not a great way to show it on screen because it is very wide because it kind of wraps around your table.
It's the Doom Guard against the Cosmic Villains, right?
It's really good. It's really fun. And you keep finding little Easter eggs in it.
There's another spoiler for you. Of course, we have a crossover inside Cosmic Crisis. The villains have to fight the Doom Guard.
So good. And then if you want that in print, so you get the book, you get the GM screen and adventure, you get the map, and you get the archetype cards and the pawns. I think the pawns are shrink wrapped, but the archetype cards are in the box or in a box. And then the box set digital is $75, and so you get like basically all the goodies, but digital. And then true value, the best deal, the most off MSRP, all the goodies all the time, $175 for 3 whole campaigns, all the books in hardcover, over 100 pages each. Gorgeous new art, 90+% new art in the first 2, and all updated to Suede. You get the archetype cards in their own box. You get the Star City map and the spaceship map on the printout. You get the Map Pack 1, which is 2 locations in space. You get the pawn set. You get the conviction coins, which are awesome and clinky and metally, and hopefully will be punched through. I think the idea is that they're punched through all the way through. The dice. Everyone likes dice, right? And the bennies, and then the GM screen and the adventure. So it is a kind of a complete 3 different. You can run it for months and months and months. All 3 Necessary Evils.
And that's what we try to reinforce, right? This isn't one adventure box. This is 3 adventures in the box. This is triple the normal content for one of these.
Yeah, and the pawns, augment all the good stuff that we had with the Superpower Companion, and then just cover in Necessary Evil 1 and 2 stuff with the new art. And they are front and back. Alita, we joke, there's a whole lot of really cute butts on the back because we want it's just you could sell you the same pawns the same price and just have the reverse of the cover image or a silhouette. We're like, no, we want actual art on the back that is the reverse. So they're super utilitarian to the table. You can instantly tell because they're also silhouette cut, so they're not all the same shape and all the same outline. You can recognize the outline of the characters very quickly. And you can do position and facing, so if you know who's facing where, because the actual pawns have the front and back. So and who doesn't need more superhero pawns? I mean, or villain pawns. I mean, either way, they're
heroes and villains both. We
Right.
don't distinguish. It's okay.
Yeah, we have diversity.
And that's one of the options. Like, you can be that one lone hero that made it through all of this and is now surrounded by all these villains. And it's like, well, do you pretend to be a villain? Do you, go along to get along? When we played, Simon was that character. He was technically a space cop that was there to watch the group. And of course, like, he and the telepath are just like staring at each other over the table, like who's gonna break first, as it goes. Yeah, that stuff.
That's good stuff. So let's see. Any last minute questions? Let me run through the comments and see. Let's see what.
Yeah, and you guys, please post those questions to comments. We will answer them. Whenever we're talking here, please ask. I say I'm always worried about the stuff I don't think to tell people. Thank you, Raven.
Thanks, Raven and JD. We will not tell your wives, although, I mean, they have a crush on me and they're watching the stream. So, I mean, we won't tell them knowingly and directly, but if they're watching, love your husbands and play with them. Actually play the campaign, because, your wives can have fun at this too. Okay. Donald says I need to show the whole GM screen. I mean, I'll find it before first.
Scroll first, then show.
Right, so Shane doesn't get vertigo.
Motion sickness. Yeah.
Let's see. Here's the whole thing. Actually, we'll bring.
He's not the only one.
Right. I see the whole screen. Okay, here we go. I guess this is the one. Let's see if how much nicely can we boom. Yeah. See, it's a very long. Maybe I can zoom in a little bit more. But yes, I mean, all the characters, there's some great little Easter eggs in the back, and the nice little wraparound. But it is a cool. It itself is a really cool piece of art. And let's see. Yes, it is actually super good. I mean, Shane is a very harsh critic of his own and others' work, and we do that to make sure that you guys love it versus just like it a lot. And he is super plussed about this whole campaign and about where the Necessary Evil line is going. I mean, not only are we doing a Doomguard board game because we love it so much, I mean, there's already other Necessary Evils, and
there's definitely talk about what happens next, where the future takes us for sure.
Yeah, right. I mean, baby got back art is good stuff.
It's just capes, you guys. It's fine.
It's just capes. It's fine. Let's see. Normal arcane background. I don't know.
So there really curious how will Super. So they actually do, and this was actually something that we tried during the playtest for this, is because you're against Stygia and they've got like a lot of wizards and whatever. It's like, yes, they've got the super powered version, guys, but there are also cultists who just have regular old arcane background magic, and honestly, it worked really well. There was a good distinction between the two, and it was just fine. I do not recommend it for the supers themselves, because the supers, they're just on a different level.
Yeah.
Like they can do things that an arcane background character can't do. There's a note in the old one that's like, oh, you don't have to take arcane background superpowers. You can just take an edge instead for free, but good luck. And we don't even say that anymore. It's like not using cards for initiative. It's like, no, you're Superman. Like, at least take your points and put them into extra attribute skill points or whatever, because you need it, right? Like, you need it to compete. So in terms of setting, arcane background works great. For characters, don't try to mix and match them. And in fact, we added the boost trait power to Superpower's companion specifically because that was the one thing that heroes weren't able to do without a arcane background. And we're like, well, no, they need to be able to do this too. So we added that as a power so they could go all powers and not have to cross the streams for that.
Yeah. Yes, Venkel, absolutely compatible with the board game. So we love the pawns. I think pawns are where it's at for a lot of RPG sessions. But if you are one of those super GMs, like, I don't know, Carl Kiesler, and want to do full-on minis or mix pawns and minis, the Doomguard board game physical, I think resin miniatures are 100% compatible with the
I mean, so it's the same setting. It's the Doomguard characters. It's not the necessary evil characters though. So don't get your hopes up on that. You know, Doomguard maybe will do more and we'll get some of the necessary evil people in there, but we'll let Mike talk about that coming up.
Right, but you will recognize some of the people on the GM screen will show up as physical minis.
Like the Doomguard are the Doomguard. Like the archetype, the archetypical Doomguard characters are the ones on the screen. They're also the ones that show up in the adventure. And if you kill them, that's fine too, because you go to hell. You'll meet some of them again.
So this is a good question for Mike, but I'm pretty sure in the board game is written now, the character options are pre-written for balance.
Yes. And the board game's a board game, not Savage Worlds.
Yeah.
So
and
set your expectations on that. You know?
Right. And and that just kind of matters for what the player option powers are very specific to the board game. So they kind of need to be extant when the game starts. And then here's our final good question to end the stream on, because we've already gone a little bit over, but right, that's their evil road to hell. Yes. Well, I should say
where we're going, we don't need roads.
Right. We just need growth. And so Cryptwright is actually going to be on the stream tomorrow on our schedule for the Savage Universe stream. So tune in tomorrow. I think it's an hour later than this stream started. I think it's 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm pretty sure. If not, check our Twitch schedule. And so we're going to talk about Savage Universe features and functionality and all the good stuff that's coming to that website, because Cryptwright had a big part to do in all of that. And then last question for the stream from JD. Have you found a character you couldn't build yet from any of these super universes?
I am sure one exists, but honestly, this is how we play tested SPC, is we all built our characters. And like I say, Shane did a big, like at conventions, he did a Marvel versus DC thing. And it was like, if we couldn't do it, we made sure that we could by the time SPC came out. So not that I'm sure one exists. Like there has to be, but between the basics and power stunts, pretty like everything I've tried to do, I've been able to do.
Pretty much anything gameable in an RPG, right? And there are probably certain characters in
even a few that push the line on that, right? Because power stunts open the door to some of those weird ones. Like you give them the 4-point super sorcerer ability, and change and have the trapping match it, and it's like, oh yeah, man, even some Grant Morrison stuff works with that. So okay.
He tried to break the universe, but we curtailed him. So yeah, folks, I mean, the donations are still going up. I think we're almost at 2,200 just during the stream. So awesome. Thank you again for all of your support of backing this campaign. But there's the link in the chat one more time if you guys want to get in on board on the Necessary Evil. The campaign is going to, Super Pets. All Super Pets go to heaven. The campaign is going to run for 3 weeks from tomorrow. Through tomorrow, so 3 weeks in a day from today, and we are already funded. It's already happening, so all that good stuff has already been decided. And then as far as stretch goals go, no, they're already baked in. You guys are already going to get the conviction coins, which are awesome. You're already going to get the extra map pack 1. You're already going to get the extra box with the magnetic closure, all baked in already. We were not fooling around. Didn't feel the need to juice the campaign. We're like, let's just do it. We're going to do this. It's going to be part of the value. So
yeah, stretch goals make more sense than something like a Kickstarter where you build and then fund. Whereas this, it's like, well, I mean, once you're in, you're in. So we didn't want a lot of
pay up front.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't want a lot of I need to make an adjustment or whatever. It's more like let's make it worth it at the beginning. Off we go.
So yeah, so as Daryl said at the beginning of the stream, we are going to open up a la carte add-on of individual products here in a couple days, I think. Basically, get people to settle into their products, and we also need our warehouse to get back from Gamma to give us the ISBN numbers, so that when you order these things, you correctly add them to your order, and those going to persist until they get delivered to you. So that's the other reason that they
Yeah,
aren't.
we maybe didn't take Gamma into account during our planning sessions.
Right, we're like, oh, someone at Studio 2. Oh, nope. Jim is at Studio 2 with Shane and Simon. It's like Simon and Jim.
Right.
Simon and Jim are the two parts of this tripod we need to,
Right.
to get this information, and they're both in Reno right now, sipping cocktails and making business deals. So, but they're coming back. I think they are. I think Shane and Simon are on a plane.
I think they're on a plane right now.
Yeah. And so when we get that information and we confirm it with Jim, we will get the add-ons added on so you guys can do the individuals, or you can get buy 9 more of the awesome magnetic closure boxes so you can put in all your cards,
or those extra conviction tokens.
Right.
And again, you guys tell us in the comments the stuff that you want, because we build future campaigns around that. Oh, people want this, great, we'll make it happen. That's if we can.
Right. And if you want more ASMR videos of me dropping coins and books on desks, you can totally do that too.
Yeah, I think that's actually the opposite of what that means.
I probably.
If it's cacophony and breaking things, that's exactly the opposite.
Right. Although, I mean, every time Simon dropped the Pathfinder book on his desk, and we just watched the value of the Kickstarter go up. So people do like a nice solid thunk. But yeah, this is a pretty jam-packed box offering. We are really kind of happy to be able to bring back 1 and 2, which are now Breakout and Invasion.
Yeah.
All new art, almost all new art, all great current modern art with lots of new art, and all updated Dissuade.
And one of the things that we were going to do, but had to pull, was originally because we knew there was something coming up, on the horizon. We were like, ooh, we'll leave room for it so we can all put it in the one box. You just need the one box. Yeah, no, we can't fit it, so never mind. This one's just full. It's ain't no more box. That's it.
That's good. So thank you everybody for allowing us the grace of not having this on yesterday, and
the confusion around the launch stream. Didn't we already launch? Yeah.
Right. I know. Yes. The language. So someone was like, "What happened? You're relaunching?" No, we're not relaunching the campaign. The campaign is great. It is funded. It is full steam ahead. We just had to do this show today instead of yesterday because it was a snowstorm and I was without internet during the crucial part to be able to stream. So we have power back, and then so you guys will have superpowers if you pick this up. It's a super campaign. What an accidental pun, number 19, I think we're at.
Right.
And we appreciate you, John Doom, and we're glad that your wallet could suffer another blow. But it really, I mean, $175 for the amount of stuff that we've put in the box is really, that's the best price you're going to see. It's going to be well over $200 when it hits retail. It's kind of the reality of the modern market. But because shipping is going to be the exclusive campaign shipping. So
right, that's our challenge, is how to get it all in and make it worth getting. Do the things that we want to do the things that you want us to do, and somehow make it cost effective for everyone. It's a challenge.
And if you want to see that drive-through exclusive RPG drive-through RPG preview, Dr. Destruction is up on drive-through RPG for free. Or you can wait for the email, which should be coming tomorrow or the next day from drive-through RPG, letting you know it's there. But we appreciate you guys. So share the campaign. It's the one thing that we always need help with. We are actually a small company. So if you are as excited about Necessary Evil Cosmic Crisis as we are, share it with your friends. Do it on social media. Let folks know that you're a backer. We appreciate the signal boost. So other than that, we will see you guys tomorrow for Savage Universe with Cryptrite. Chris Valentine, who is our guru behind the webpage. And then we'll have Daryl back on again on Friday for a little more casual talk about how he got into RPGs, how he made his break into the business, if he has any tattoos or piercings, and other cool, fun stuff like that. And we will definitely take your questions on both streams. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. Cheers, everybody.